Okay, gentlemen, we're looking at Heritage's offering for the 113 Pagoda seat covers and related items. Also, our installation work on the final finished product seat frames that are sent to us. In this video, I will hopefully demonstrate the differences between our product and others, and what makes our seat covers and the finished product the best available anywhere in the world, second to none. That's a pretty brave statement, but I'm gonna make it even more, put even more money on the table, and I'll say that we actually at Heritage are confident that we make Pagoda seat covers to a higher standard of fit and finish than Mercedes themselves did during the production run of the SL. Now that's pretty brave. However, I can tell you that the simple truth of it is that we have products and techniques and equipment that they simply didn't have back then. So it does give us a kind of an unfair advantage. The other great advantage that we have is that we have time to work to a high standard. They did not have the time to work to these high standards at the factory. It was production work. They had limited time, and it shows in the finished cars. They were mass produced. They didn't have infinite amount of time to spend on the seats and so on. And the standards were just much lower. They expected to see wrinkles and creases in leather in the way that restored cars around the world now just don't. I think a good way of proving that is these photographs. One of my own cars, one of my own 111, actually 112 300S suspension coupe. When I bought it, the owner had these lovely factory photographs that he gave me from Mercedes, and there was a couple of things I noticed. This is an example of the carpet. See the creases in the carpet there? That's actually unnecessary, but there it is in the factory photograph here. And then we're looking at the seats. Now, of course, these are not Pagoda seats, but I'm making my point here. Do you see the wrinkles over here in the rear seat? If we look closer, now that's our friend here, Esme. She's getting in on the scene. But you can see the wrinkles here in the rear seat. You can see the front seat pleats not being straight. They've been sat in. But the backrest, again, has the same problem, baggy through here. There's lots of evidence of finished original seats online from Mercedes that show this type of stuff. If you look at factory photographs, it's quite evident. Anyway, let's look into some of the reasons that we don't have those problems. Firstly, let's start with the leather. Now, there's lots of leather available to us through tanneries in Europe, different qualities and standards and so on. Simply put, Rosa, of course, are no longer in the leather making business, and leather, the way it was made back in production of the Pagoda, is completely different to modern leathers. The old-fashioned leather is frankly not as good. It's surface dyed, veg tanned, and because of pollution controls and other factors in Europe and throughout the world, it's now no longer produced that way for environmental reasons. Modern leathers that you see in a modern Mercedes are much harder wearing and higher quality than they were originally. And the main difference, I think, is just that they're vat dyed, so the color is all the way through instead of just surface colored as they were. So, but again, all different qualities, different grains. Now here's an example of what we consider to be poor quality leather. This is actually presented to us from a trade customer who wanted to match something else in the car that was already done, and production manager here just rejected it out of hand. It's just we cannot get the results with this. What they have here is a heavy corrected grain that's not suitable for classic Mercedes, and not recommended. They basically take poorer quality hides, emboss this fake grain into it, as you can see, And now that the hides we use have corrected grain and have some grain, but nothing as crude as this. So and we just simply can't get the results with this quality leather. So that's a reject. We'll look closely at our leather here. See, it's very high quality, and the results are absolutely perfect. We'll look now at some common pitfalls in Pagoda seats. Wavy piping, for instance, on the backrest is a common thing that we see from our competitors and so on throughout the world. And this is to do with the tension of this as it's sewn in. You're basically if you sew it incorrectly, you're sewing in the wrinkles. There's no amount of pulling that's going to get those wrinkles out. So that's one thing that we have perfected here at Heritage. Another telltale sign of poor trim, in our opinion, is the distances, the way things are pulled. That distance there is critical. Obviously, this seat has to be the same as the other seat to match as it would have been at Mercedes. That's all made possible by absolutely accurate patterns. And within the seat here and the cushion, within the backrest and the cushion, are these tack strips that are sewn into the seats. There's the big long ones for around the bottom of the cushion. And there's a channel at the back of the seat frames. Here we see it here. And these fiberboard pieces are sewn into the seats and clipped over. So it's a set thing. This doesn't get adjusted. When you put that clip in, the width is set. Again, precise patterns are required to get that. You cannot. We see it a lot where there's discrepancies in that. You can see the tack strip here sewn into the bottom one, clipped into these, and so on. So that's how the seats are sewn with these tack strips. These tack strips are cut on our Gerber cutting machine, which we've demonstrated, and it means that they're dead straight and absolutely accurate. These are stocked on the shelf. Of course, 280s here, and the guys pull them off, and off they go. Likewise with the pleats that go within the seats, we cut these on our Gerber cutting machine, and as you can see, they're absolutely dead straight. If they're not cut dead straight, you will not get dead straight pleats in the seats, obviously. Imagine a local upholstery shop or a manufacturer without the $100,000 cutting machine is going to take a ruler, put a weight on it, get a blade, and try to cut it. Yeah, okay, cutting through the foam. Now you got to try cutting through the padding underneath. I mean, good luck. Imagine trying to cut that straight and the whole car set. So great advantage with our machine that we can cut these, and we stock these. The guys just go pull them off the shelf and they're ready to go. Set that aside. And now we'll go back to look at some of the other aspects of the seat construction. We have this pleated center of the seat. As you can see, we demonstrated earlier in an earlier video the twin needle stitch. Of course, we have a specialty machine that's set up for this, 12 millimeters. You can see how absolutely perfect that stitch is. The correct basket weave embossing that's heat sealed into this leather. And then the next step is to get this cinch, these pockets sewn. You can see how they're sewn right in. And at this end, as it is from 1969 to 71, 280s, we have this gathered pleat where it's sewn together here. Now, there's the pocket at the back, ready to receive the pads. All that gets sewn, and then the pads get set in by hand after we get to this point. I demonstrated the cut of this calico earlier. One thing I didn't demonstrate in the earlier video is the pencil lines that our machine draws on the back of the calico to allow the sewers to do all this with absolute accuracy. You can see the pencil lines here and how they've used them to know where this pleat ends and so on, and how much to gather the pleat to create the pocket. Does that make sense? So another great advantage. We just have these on the shelf. The orders come in, we pull these out, get sewn into the seats. Mercedes would not have had this advantage. Take two, as they say in Hollywood. We ran out of battery. It's no Steven Spielberg production here. We're quite informal, as you can see, and it happens. So the battery ran out. where was I? Pleats. The factory would not have hand cut them. They would have tool cut them, but you need at least a 20-ton press to hit those to cut through. My point is that smaller manufacturers and your local upholstery shop would have no other choice than the blade cut. Okay, so I've made that point. I've made the issue about the calico tack strips and so on. Again, we'll look back at the seats because, of course, the proof is right here in front of you. I think you could agree with me that this is absolutely perfect. There's no other way to describe it. I know if it was my car, I'd be extremely pleased to put these in. The high quality leather that we use, I want to emphasize the most important aspect is that not only does it stay looking great when it's brand new like this, but all these things that I'm showing you come together to make these seats look good in 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, or maybe even 60 years later. Obviously things wear and that's inevitable, but the high quality leather will ensure many years of enjoyment and comfort. The smell of the leather, of course, is also something that everybody enjoys. So we'll look again at the finished pleats. The pleats are set in here. We have the twin needle stitch. We have the light grey in the back of the holes. We have the pleat at the front joined together for the 280 and sewn into the pipe in here. And this is very important, without any wrinkles. If you sew them in, you can't get them out. Another thing that people don't recognize with Mercedes, classic Mercedes seats is the look of the seat. We've got the look right here at Heritage. It took a long time, a lot of details that go into this. In fact, there's a specialty machine that we had made for us that does this, allows this cinch sewing here in this section. It's also used at the top of here. And if you notice that it forms this cup, so it's not flat in here, it cups over, dropping the pipe in down below. And that is the hallmark of classic Mercedes seats. And I'll tell you, 9 out of 10 other seats that I see miss this. And you can't really put your finger on why it doesn't look right, at least most people can't. I can at a glance. But that's the reason. This is, you can see it there. There it's that it doesn't have the cinch, it sits lower against the piping. But here it starts to round. You see it? And cup. And so we have a specialty machine that allows this has to be set in the leather prior to sewing. And again, you can see it level here and then cupping at the top in here. So there we go. And again, the backrest has the pleats sewn at the top. Okay, so that's the basic seat construction. Now we'll look at the substrates and a big reason why we get these perfect results. Let's start with the frames. When the frames come into us, they don't look like this. They're always surface rust and deteriorated in many ways. They usually survive well. If there's any repair work needed, we sub that out and the welding gets done and so on. But most of the time, 113 seats frames survive well. We glass bead and paint with a high quality Worth satin finish, a German paint Worth, very good product, and paint the seat frames. If now we don't, there is a factory original color for these frames. If someone just has to have it, they're welcome to go ahead and send us the seat frames fully painted, ready to go. We're not painters, we're trimmers, upholsterers, and we find this to be adequate for most of our customers. You can see it here in the backrest also. So that's how we prepare the seat frames. We cannot and we do not trim over old glue and old crappy looking seat frames. Very important that glue and other things get removed from seats and all the substrates, as I demonstrate in other videos, otherwise we cannot get these perfect results. So now we'll look at our current replacement. As of May 2017, we are using these reproduction seat pads that are made of what people call horsehair. Now it isn't horsehair, it's fibrous materials, mostly coconut matting. There are some natural. It's basically the old socks and dead dogs, they call it. It's just fibrous materials left over from lots of different industries. They put a resin in with it that allows it to be moldable. You can see how Mercedes then added other padding on top and calico pulls and thing. Now I'm just demonstrating here an original seat foam that was rejected by production here as not being suitable. You can see why. It's coming apart. We just simply can't get those results that we want. On the other hand, the pad in this seat frame was in good condition and was able to be reused. But as a service to customers, we paint the back of the foam to kind of seal the old sort of natural smells that sometimes come from the old pads, and that fixes that. However, in a case like this, where they're just too bad, we have the new fibrous replacement pads here, and you can see one. This is, of course, has ready for the American style headrest, and so they are available. Now I mentioned the date because within the next few months we at Heritage are tooling up. Here's an example of a tooled molded foam, and we are going to be producing these cushion and backrest foams in molded modern urethane foam, not the horsehair. And we are absolutely confident that the results that we're going to get are going to be even better because it's a much better product than this original horsehair. So here's modern urethane foam. It's a two-part foam. It expands within the mold. It's very expensive to create the tooling for this, and of course the cushion portion of the seat is handed left and right. The backrests are not handed, but there's going to be some substantial investment in these molded pads. Again, we've done it with the headrests already, and we're going to do the same with these two components. We feel you're going to have much more comfort in the seat, and you'll have much longer life. This will eventually break down in the same way that this one. This is the 25-year life foam used in modern car manufacturing with perfect results. So it's comfortable, it fits. They're going to have these made to fit our seat covers like a glove. And the whole combination is going to take us up to an even higher level than we're currently achieving. Case in point, let's look at the headrest. We tooled up, these are our own molded headrest foams. This is the end result. Here's this is a set that we're doing for a customer in Dubai. Here's his original headrest foams. This car was actually sold new in Japan and then ended up in Dubai. Left-hand drive American spec originally. Actually not new in Japan, American spec, imported to Japan and ended up in Dubai. Anyway, my point is, here's the original headrest pads, and most other companies have to make use of these pads. They have no other choice. But look at this. It's bloody falling apart. It's rough. It's got the polyfoam from the factory, but look at the bumpy on the side. If you take brand new headrest covers from us or anybody else and you put them onto this headrest foam, which may be a different shape to the other side. It's another problem that comes up. You see that in online photographs. And you're using the old foam that's distorted and disintegrated and shrunk and so on. You're going to end up with a headrest that has, this is common, look in this area here on your car or on restored cars, and this is always puckered in here, meaning the leather here. Now, look at that. It's bloody perfect. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And that's made possible by that. There's the beautiful top stitch that we see here. Look how accurate that is. We see inaccuracies in sewing from the factory. I don't have an example to show you, but I could certainly find one. They weren't always perfect, that's for sure. If Fritz or Gerda started sewing and went off a little bit, you don't think they threw it in the bin. I mean, if it was visible and bad, but you know, we see this now. I don't know if you can see. Hopefully, you can see. Again, absolutely perfect. Again, our sewing department has given time to make it. And if they go off, which they rarely do, but if they do, it goes in the bin. Simple as that. These small details come together and make a difference. And we're very proud of these details that we're pointing out here. This is how we get these wonderful results. So let's see now. We've covered the seats, we've covered the pads, headrest, molded foams, painted seat frames. Look at one last thing here. Most orders, customers want to have brand new back panels. You can see this is just the small stock. We got hundreds of these. We've got a pile 2 foot high on the shelf. We have these tool cut, so they're press cut from tooling that is exactly the same as original. These, of course, get reused, polished up, and reset. We even glass bead and the surface rust and paint the clips so that they all, you don't see that, but we know it's there. Got the little pull on the bottom, and then, of course, that gets slipped in. That's how that goes. Now, what else? I think there's one last thing to cover. Heated seats. But I think I'll do this in a separate video that I'm going to edit in, so that I can use it as a demonstration for other Mercedes, classic Mercedes. So we'll leave it there and we'll pick it up in a minute. Okay, everything you ever wanted to know and more about heated seats in classic Mercedes cars. Obviously not original. Heated seats were not offered until well into the 80s by Mercedes, certainly not in the 60s and 70s. However, we have sourced this very well-made German product. It's a carbon fiber. That's it. Carbon fiber element in here. This means it can be cut and adjusted. It gives a good even heat. It doesn't have the continuous wire that other early heated seat technology had. This is the latest, greatest, and stays without breaking. You lose a break in a cheaper seat heater, and you simply don't have a seat heater. You can see it comes with its integral wiring loom, very nicely made. It's all cloth wrapped. And they've even gone to the trouble. Look, I just love the bloody Germans and the way they do things. Look at that, heat shrink in every single terminal on this switch. Great little switch, 2-stage heater, low and high. Just a click there. Now, if you don't want to put that in your dash or anywhere else, then suddenly another good way to do it, put a little bit of heat shrink around that, bigger piece, of course. Heat shrink that so it's completely filled, and drop it underneath the seat, discreetly underneath there, so you can reach down and throw on. Now, why would you put heated seats in an open car that you mostly use in the summer? I hear you say. Great question, and I'm happy to answer that. I can tell you that most of our customers will choose this option, and the reason is because it is extremely comfortable in an open car to be nice and toasty warm. Not so much in the hot days when you're driving it during the day, but in the nighttime. So, for instance, you go to the local restaurant, you and the missus, you pull in, it's nice and warm, the sun's going down. You come out, it's not as warm. You flick on the switch, you've got instant heat, comfort. It is a great thing to have, and again, it's within the seat. Nobody sees it. It doesn't spoil the originality of the car. It's just a convenience. And you could say, well, I live in a hot country. I live in Australia. Or I live wherever. I can tell you that this customer, this half of the seat, I think it's this one. This customer lives in Dubai. Now, it doesn't get much hotter. However, I can tell you that here in Palm Springs, we live in a desert too that gets extremely hot. We're talking up to 50 degrees Celsius in summertime. So we know all about deserts and we know all about heat. But even in a desert, it gets cold at night. So when I ask the customer from Dubai, did he want heated seats? He didn't laugh the way that some people might. Because he gets it. It's bloody cold at night. It can be, that's for sure, especially in the winter. So he chose to go with the heated seats. I recommend them. You get one decision to put them in. It's at the beginning. You can't add them later. The seat can't come apart to add them in. So I would, even if you never use them, for the amount of money that we charge. We install them at no charge. You just buy the seat heaters. At least you have them there. If you choose not to use them, well, then that's up to you. But I'll tell you what, those people that choose to go this option will have no regrets. That's my opinion. The people that do not choose to go with this will remember one day when they're driving their Pagoda and the missus is complaining because it's freezing and she wants the heat on and the top up. They'll be saying that's fast-talking Welshman was right. Anyway, there you go. I think we just covered everything here. Again, small details, important things that are important to us, and you can see the results are evident. Can't wait to get the pair finished up and in the car so that we can see the overall results in conjunction with the rest of the finished work. But, hope you enjoyed it, and look forward to hearing from you soon. Just add one last point regarding the pads that I forgot. We strongly recommend the use of the brand new cushion pads, whether it's the molded, this fibrous, or eventually our urethane model. We cannot get these results with the use of old cushion foams in particular. 2 parts of seat cushion you sit on, backrest that you lean up against in the US, backrest. In the UK and other Australian so on, sometimes called squab. That's the bit you lean up against, cushion and squab. Cushion pads should always be replaced. You get the look of the old seat. Again, the same kind of problem that I showed there coming through on the finished seats, and we don't want that. The backrest I showed you earlier, if they're in poor condition, they need to be replaced, but if they're in good condition, we can get very good results with seats that are, we work them. There's some repairs and other things that we do. It's when they're as bad as the one that I showed you, that's when you have to step up and buy the new backrest pad as well. But it's something that is expensive, and if it isn't necessary, we don't do it. If we report back that you need to, then then we'll have to go that way. But these, I believe, in here are original pads, and you can see the great results there. So backrest you can get away with, cushions always should be new. Okay, gentlemen, so lots of things separate heritage from the pack. This is one of them. It's a special twin needle machine here that's set up for exactly 12 millimeters. We had it made specifically for Mercedes fleeting, and Sol is going to show us how we do this stitch line here. We have the embossing for the basket we've already done, the holes punched. So the first step is a chalk line on the holes, and then Sol will demonstrate how we do it.
Okay. We measure the same distance from here to here,
Yeah.
and we did a line right here because this one doesn't have any holes.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure it's the same line. And the calico on the back is just the exact size as the leather.
Right.
We put a little piece of leather that we pre-cut
Yeah.
in squares,
Tabs.
just so we don't have to lock it
Yeah.
at the beginning.
Great.
And then we're just gonna slowly get in position to where this little foot
Yeah.
is.
That's the
on
guide, isn't it? Yeah.
The guide is on the line. Make sure you're holding the calico in place.
Now, I think it's pretty easy to see how difficult this is. It's absolutely impossible for even the best sewers in the world to sew 2 parallel lines exactly 12 millimeters apart consistently. So it's always a telltale sign when you see the cheap upholstery jobs for Mercedes, 111s, 113s. You always see this wavy line where a local upholstery shop has tried to do this with 2 passes of a single needle machine. So you can see it's time consuming, but this is how Mercedes did it. This is how we do it here at Heritage. And here's the final result here. We've got these panels. This is in a nice palomino. You can see how dead straight, perfect that stitch line is right there. And then of course this gets gathered at the back to create that by 1 centimeter, creates that box section, and then we stuff the pleats in. That's how they're done. So there we go, gentlemen. That's a twin needle machine from Mercedes in action here at Heritage. Okay, gentlemen, W113 Pagodas. This is the calico cotton, gray cotton that's used in by Mercedes and by us. We had this cloth specially made for us in Europe. It's crucial. It looks like you could just use anything, but it's very important that the right spec and weight and the weave of the cloth is crucial to allow for stretch and so on. We're cutting it here diagonally, so it has the stretch in the direction that we want it to work. It's the same as Mercedes did this. And these other little squares here are just pieces of calico cut, ready to sew into the rear quarter panels, the B-post, where there's a stitch line, a U-shaped stitch line. This is the backing cloth, so we're cutting them at the same time. As I said, here's finished. This is where the box section, this is where the calico is going to be used to create this pocket by sewing that. It goes 1 centimeter. And it is important that this material is exactly as original, and we've nailed it here. So we're going to cut this with the machine, so we have them in stock. The guys, when they're putting together the orders for 113s, just go to the shelf and pull them off. And let's get this going. So start the fan. Jog the machine up to position. Start point there. Press go. And watch this thing do its thing. I have to be very quick because this machine is unpredictable. It moves at a meter a second between cuts. So not when it's cut here, but you watch how fast it moves. See it? So it's like a viper. You got to keep your eye on it. Now it's cut into squares for the B-post, as you can see. But it gives you the idea. It'll finish these cuts first, and then it'll switch to the rectangles here. But this is the type of thing that really separates Heritage from the pack. I don't know how small shops could manage. It's not just as simple as going and getting a piece of any old cotton calico. We know because we made that mistake many years ago, and it's crucial. It's also the right color gray, exactly as Mercedes used, so that when you see through the perforated holes here, you see the gray. So there we go.